There was a time, not so long ago, when the idea of a passport overflowing with foreign stamps belonged to someone else, perhaps a businessman, a diplomat, or the rare family with a cousin in Australia. For most of us, summer meant something closer to home. Picture it. The battered leather suitcase hauled from the cupboard under the stairs, its corners scuffed by years of faithful service, the frantic last-minute dash for raincoats, wellies, and that trusty tartan rug. In living rooms across Britain, families pored over battered AA maps, arguing over the best route to Blackpool or Torquay, the radio humming in the background. There was excitement in the air, a heady blend of anxiety and anticipation, because for many children, these journeys felt like real adventures. You'd squeeze into the back seat with your siblings, sandwiches already curling at the edges, the smell of boiled sweets and petrol mixing in the air. Holidays were a rite of passage, a cherished chapter in the year. Before low-cost flights and online bookings, Britain itself was the promised land, waiting just beyond the Garden Gate. Back then, a British holiday was less about distance and more about tradition. The Second World War was over, ration books finally put away, and a new spirit of optimism drifted through ordinary homes. For the first time in generations, working families had a few spare pounds and, most crucially, a week or two away from the daily grind. There were choices, yes, but not like today's endless menu of far-flung escapes. Holidays meant piling into the car, queuing at railway stations, or boarding a coach packed with chatter and paper bags of boiled sweets. It was the golden age of the British seaside resort. Towns like Blackpool, Scarborough, and Margate became legends in their own right. You could smell the promise of holiday freedom long before you glimpsed the sea. Vinegar-soaked chips, salt on the breeze, candy floss spinning in sticky hands. The pier was alive with shrieks from the rides, the hollow thud of arcade games, and the brassy sound of a distant band playing "Roll Out the Barrel." But holidays weren't just for the coast. Some families trekked to the Lake District, the Welsh Hills, or the wilds of Scotland. Caravans rattling behind Morris miners, flasks of tea clinking beside wellies. Rain pattered on tin roofs, and there was a thrill to being bundled up against the drizzle, sharing cocoa and stories as the wind whistled outside. It was a world shaped by simple pleasures, small luxuries, and the magic of being away, together. And it was only just beginning. If you grew up in post-war Britain, chances are your summer adventures followed a familiar path, one mapped out by the nation's collective memory. First stop, Blackpool, the undisputed queen of the seaside. Blackpool's Golden Mile was a universe unto itself, flashing with neon, alive with laughter, and fragrant with the salty promise of chips and donuts. You couldn't help but marvel at the tower piercing the gray sky, or the endless parade of slot machines and fortune-tellers promising secrets for a penny. There was a thrill to trundling down the promenade, the wind tugging your hair, a stick of rock clutched tightly in your fist. Even a sudden downpour felt like part of the adventure, an excuse to huddle under the pier or dash into the ghost train for shelter. Not far behind in popularity was the legendary Butlin's holiday camp. For many children, Butlin's was pure magic. A world of knobbly knees competitions, gleaming red coats, and endless opportunities to run wild with new friends. Parents relaxed, knowing entertainment was just outside their chalets, while kids spent days chasing treasure hunts, trying archery, or swimming in chilly pools. There was a togetherness at Butlin's. Everyone, young and old, swept up in the camaraderie of shared activities and silly competitions. The best part? You'd return home with pockets full of badges, sunburnt noses, and stories to trade at school. Scarborough, with its Victorian charm, was another classic. Families trekked down steep roads to golden sands, the gentle lapping of the North Sea in their ears. You could smell fresh crabs on the harbor and hear the shouts of children darting between deck chairs. In the arcades, a handful of coins could last hours, and the walk back up to the guest house, tired and sandy, was a proud badge of holiday honor. For the more adventurous, rail journeys to the Lake District meant adventure of a different kind. Green hills, mirror-calm lakes, and a rare kind of peace. Yet nothing said British holiday quite like camping in Wales. Soggy tents, laughter echoing off the hills, and mornings waking to sheep peering through the mist. Simple, imperfect, unforgettable. Today's jet setting might offer sunshine guarantees, but it can't quite recreate the magic of those homegrown adventures. Moments that felt truly earned, stitched into the fabric of family life. And there were more just around the corner. If the first half of the holiday season belonged to neon-lit piers and bucket and spade beaches, the next belonged to Britain's green heart and quirky traditions. Caravanning in Devon or Cornwall was a rite of passage in its own right. There was a special thrill in watching Dad reverse the caravan, usually with more hope than precision, into a muddy field, while Mum set about making tea on a tiny gas stove. The scent of damp grass mixed with brine from the nearby sea, and every evening, as the sun dipped behind rolling hills, families gathered under awnings, swapping stories with neighbors over the hiss of a portable grill. There was freedom in those small, moving homes, the promise of a new view every morning, the ritual of pulling on wellies and squelching through fields for fresh milk. Then came the classic coach tour to Scotland, a journey where the landscape seemed to unspool endlessly outside misted windows. You'd play endless games of I Spy, eat egg sandwiches wrapped in greaseproof paper, and listen as older passengers swapped tales of holidays past. The moment the Highlands came into view, a patchwork of green and purple castle ruins rising from the mist, felt like entering another world. In Brighton, the penny arcades beckoned with their glowing promise. Kids gathered pocketfuls of coppers, testing their luck on the tuppenny falls, or watching, transfixed, as colored lights spun and whirred. The day wasn't complete without a Punch and Judy show, laughter ringing out as Mr. Punch squawked, his voice competing with the gulls. It was tradition, plain and simple. For some, the call of the Peak District meant family hikes, picnics under gray skies, boots sinking in heather, and the secret pride of reaching a wind-swept summit. Day trips to Windsor or the Isle of Wight rounded out the season. Stately castles, creaky ferries, and the must-do ritual of writing postcards home. Even now, those memories, sticky with ice cream, fluttering with cheap souvenirs, remain tucked away in drawers and hearts. Modern getaways might boast five-star comforts, but nothing quite replaces the sense of adventure or the unspoken holiday rules that defined those British escapes. And soon, everything was about to change. What lingers most from those holidays isn't always the place, but the feeling, something soft-edged and golden, like sunlight on a faded photograph. There was the growing excitement as departure day crept closer, the countdown marked by new sandals and a last-minute dash to Woolworths for beach toys. Even now, the memory of biting into a cold 99 flake, ice cream melting faster than you could eat it, brings back a rush of summer freedom. These trips made ordinary luxuries taste extraordinary. The first hot chips after a salty swim, a stick of rock painstakingly sucked down to its sugary center, the jangle of coins in your pocket for the slot machines. Each moment was a small celebration. Parents unwound, freed from routine, and children ran wild under wide, gray skies. The grown-ups shared quiet laughter over chipped teacups, while kids roamed in packs, inventing games on shingle or sand. Holidays weren't always perfect. Rain was nearly guaranteed. Tempers sometimes flared. But these imperfections only added to the tapestry of memory. The freedom to roam, the simple joy of being together, and the pride of small discoveries built bonds that outlasted any sunburn or lost towel. Even today, when the scent of sea air drifts in, or the sound of gulls echoes overhead, those seaside memories still shimmer, etched deep in who we are. And before long, the very idea of holidays would shift in ways nobody expected. Then, almost overnight, the horizon widened. Package holidays and charter flights promised sun-drenched beaches in Spain or Greece for a price that rivaled a week in Blackpool. Suddenly, holiday brochures showed palm trees and turquoise seas, not just piers and caravan parks. Families traded fish and chips for paella, drizzle for guaranteed sunshine. It was thrilling. New cultures, bigger adventures, a taste of the world beyond. But with all that ease and excitement, something quiet faded. The rituals, the togetherness, the magic of making do. Would you trade today's comfort for the wonder and simplicity that defined holidays gone by? As the world moved on, those holidays didn't vanish. They settled quietly into the stories we tell and the way we remember family. The details may blur, but the feeling endures. The laughter, the rain-soaked days, the pride in simple adventures. Today, travel is easier, farther, faster. But for many, the truest meaning of holiday still lives in the old photos, the postcards tucked in drawers, and the tales told over tea. So, what memories linger for you? Share them, hold them close. Because it's these moments, shared and savored, that remind us who we are and where we came from.